We technically go on. Yes, we're live.
All right.
So, that way, if Dustin shows up or KJ, they can just plug on in and whatnot. So, welcome. This is episode number 16 on Inside Movies Galore. And tonight's guest is a very special guest. And hello, Dustin.
There's Dustin now.
Yep. Welcome to the 16th episode where I'm about to interview Darin Wood on his 3 or 4 films here, and also get into a film discussion on John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982.
All right.
So, Darin, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I was unable to fix my icon. It's great in the other tab, but it won't update here. So
it's very mysterious.
I apologize about that.
That's okay.
It gives you a wonderful sense of being very edgy. It's cool.
It's okay. Yeah, we did this completely on purpose then.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how did
I work. We have a film production company here in Sacramento, California. It's like a DIY thing, low budget films. It operates more like we call it a cult. Like we use the same actors over and over, use the same actors over and over, and we kind of call it a cult. It's kind of a group sort of thing. We're a small enough town. We're not LA. We're a small enough town to where the film community is fairly small here. And we've been doing this for 10 years or so. We do a certain kind of retro feel sort of films. The first one was, this will help you out. The first one was Monster from Bikini Beach. Our second one is Planet of the Vampire Women. And then we just did one called Badass Monster Killer. And we're currently working on Grunk the Smasher. So they're all genre films, and they all have a certain quirky sense of humor that fits. They all fit together in a certain way.
Kind of like John Landis schlock kind of sense of humor,
or schlock. It's been a long time since I saw that. What isn't that a Kentucky Fried Movie type of thing?
It's basically Bigfoot. But weird. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I remember the creature. I don't know. God, that used to be kind of rare. I know I saw it at some point. But okay, yeah. But John Landis's sense of humor, maybe, I don't know. It's kind of what we do is kind of its own thing, which is good. It's good and bad. You either like it or you don't. But at least it's its own thing.
It can kind of be summed up. It can kind of be summed up by my favorite scene from that, like at the end. Like all the cops show up and just like empty all their guns at the monster, and they totally missed him, and the monster just stands around looking confused, like what was supposed to happen. So
yeah.
Kind of like that. Yeah,
I might do that joke.
I love those bits.
They do it like 2 more times before they actually hit him. It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, we might think that was funny here. We might do it that way.
So how did you get into the horror genre? What made you choose horror?
I think it's just like you said about watching stuff. But I got to tell you, I mean, what we do is probably more closely resembles comedy than we've never done anything that's honestly scary. The first one was a monster movie, what the '60s, like a '60s go-go beach party. Drive-in monster movie. That was the vibe for that.
You got the guy in the suit, and it's obviously a helmet and fun stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much that
man.
With a surf music for the soundtrack, and
yes.
a lot of bikinis. So that was the vibe. And then Planet of the Vampire Women is pretty much like an old Star Trek episode, where it was more of a space movie than it was a vampire movie. Is what I'm trying to say. It was more sci-fi.
Excellent.
So, and then the third one, the Badass Monster Killer, was a cross between blaxploitation genre and the works of H.P. Lovecraft. So
Oh
it
wow.
was kind
Oh
of
my
like,
shit, yes.
like a cool little mashup, you know.
This
So,
sounds so promising.
What's that?
Bikini. Go ahead.
This sounds so promising.
So, Monster from Bikini Beach.
Monster from Bikini Beach, yeah.
How did you go about your casting? And when you did, how did it all come about?
Casting. Okay, well, we did for like 14, 15 years, we did a midnight movie festival in our town. And as part of the midnight movie festival, we would do live sketches on stage that were kind of like Saturday Night Live or something. It wasn't exactly like hosted by a host, like a horror host. It was more like a skit that would happen on stage. And then we were doing that before the movie. How's that relate to casting? Is that we would have tons and tons of actors and actresses that would come out and they would be in these skits and stuff. So you built up a pretty large talent pool right away. So when we were able to do auditions, you know, we could look at 60 people in a day or something like that and just go through tons of folks. And then we build on that because, like I said, I like to use the same people. So once we have that talent pool, that just grows from film to film to film. We add people each time.
Okay. And how was your relationship with your cast members, by the way?
It's all been great. I mean, like I said, they all come back and keep working
Awesome.
with me. So
yeah. Now, what kind of creature effects did you use in Monster from Bikini Beach?
Bikini Beach was a guy in a suit. You know, that's all that was.
Okay.
Vampire Women, Planet of Vampire Woman was well, it was fake fangs, and we had some creatures on the planet. There was some latex. They were called lightning bats, and they flew around and they attacked people. And they were little latex creations with little flapping wings and stuff that flew around on wires and whatnot. And there was also some larger creatures on the planet that were suits as well. And Badass Monster Killer, we did miniature creatures, puppet creatures, some CGI, some suits, because there was a lot of monsters in Badass Monster Killer, so all sorts of different things.
So I have a quick question, if I can interject. As far as it sounds like a pretty good sized cast, especially for larger beach scenes, everyone dancing and things like that.
Oh yeah.
What kind of crew, like what size crew did each film end up getting designated to it?
Geez, that's a good question. Let's see. Bikini Beach, Monster from Bikini Beach was the crew, I want to say, was about 8 or so. It would be different depending on the day. It wasn't a standard thing. We'd have
right.
We had the same cinematographer, and we had the same sound man, and we had a couple key people that were always there. But the PAs would come and go. They'd be whoever that day.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Sometimes the actors that weren't in that scene would be down there.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I've done that.
Cool.
That's you can get a lot of experience, just volunteering, simple stuff like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something that needs to be done. So it's like,
Right.
I appreciate the actors that'll just like, grab a smoke machine and pitch in. Hey, hide behind a rock and fire off the smoke.
Absolutely.
Now, how did you come up with the ideas for each of these films? Did you draw some inspiration from some films, or
just stuff I've seen? I mean, very much a product of what you see and what you like. So I mean, everything's kind of a reflection of. I like to think that my brain is a giant percolator, and you put all these ingredients in, and then it just goes and stuff comes out. But it's kind of a product of what's in there. Like I love old Star Trek. I love classic monster movies. That's just my bag. That's what I'm into.
cool? Did you have a favorite scene?
Excellent.
Did you have a favorite scene from either Monster from Bikini Beach, Planet of the Vampire Woman, or Badass Monster Killer?
Oh gosh. Man, the big scenes with a lot of dancers in it, those are super fun to do. They're just super fun to shoot. I don't know if I'd call it my favorite scene based on, you know, how it turned out or whatever, but just the experience of filming it. You get out there with a megaphone, and you know, everyone goes, you turn on the music and everyone dances. And then that one it was great because we not only had the bikini dancing scenes, but we also had the monster shows up at the dance party. So we got to run the monster through the crowd, and everyone's running everywhere and screaming and stuff. That was pretty great. Another fun one from Bikini Beach was we wanted to shoot on a bridge outside of town. So we found kind of a secluded one, but we didn't have permits for anything, and we needed to shoot at dusk. So we only had about 20 minutes to get. There was 2 shots we wanted to get where they pull up, a caddy pulls up, and they climb out of the car and they take a dead body out of the trunk and they throw it over the side of the bridge. So we had one shot up with the car, and then we had the second shot was down below the bridge, so we could see the fake body fall down and into the water. So we only had the 2 shots, but we only had, like I said, 20 minutes. But the fun part of it was that since we didn't have permits and we had to stop the Cadillac on the bridge, we had to put guys like with walkie-talkies like a half-mile down the road on each side of the road, and they'd call in. It's like, is it clear? Is it clear? Okay, no, there's nobody coming. Go ahead, do the shot. That was super fun too, just because you had to be on such a tight schedule.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Cool. Was there anything that was difficult for you to do?
Well, I guess that was a little bit difficult.
On either one of those films.
They all have their difficulty, I mean, because there's never enough money, so you're always trying to do stuff and scrape it together. And you know, sometimes like, well, you've seen Badass Monster Killer. The sheer amount of CGI in the post production was probably the most difficult thing I've ever done. That took like 2.5 years to do, mostly all by myself, and learning curve as well, learning how to do that stuff so I could put it in the movie.
So you actually did all of this CGI mostly yourself?
I did 95% of it. I could tell you the things on one hand that I didn't do, but most of it was mine.
Cool. Even though we talked about it a little bit before we went live, you're working on a new film, right?
Yeah, the next one's going to be called Grunk the Smasher, and I think, you know, that kind of tells you what sort of movie that might be. It's a spoof, like a sword and sorcery kind of spoof, Dungeons and Dragons, Conan the Barbarian, but done, you know, with our sense of humor, with love, but with our sense of humor. You know, we've never done that kind of parody thing where you just like pretend to make a bad movie. It's just we never have any, so they turn out that way anyway. But it's never the intention to do like, if you've seen Black Dynamite.
Oh man, I love Black Dynamite.
I do too. But there's a scene in Black Dynamite where they are intentionally like putting the boom mic in the shot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, it's okay. They're doing that on purpose to me. It's like we would never do that if the boom mic was there, which it has been. It's never been intentional. It's a different sort of humor, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Black Dynamite had a ton of moments like that, which just kind of nods to Hollywood and sort of the behind the scenes of how films are made. Like they would acknowledge really poor casting choices.
Yeah.
All kinds of jokes like that. Really good stuff. So.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoy it as well. I'm just trying to define the sort of things that we would do. Our sense of humor. Mm-hmm. In low budget film. It's because it's for us, like I said, with not having any money and everything on a shoestring, it'd be easy just to say, oh, it's intentionally bad. Oh, it's intentionally bad. But and it might be bad, but it's not because we were trying to make it bad. We were genuinely, I mean, the monster in Bikini Beach looks pretty freaking silly, but it looks that way because that's the way we wanted it to look. It looks almost exactly like the sketch I first made. But, you know, for better or worse, but it never was like an intentionally like meant to be bad. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense. I have a hard time with that. myself. I try to clarify my thoughts on that. It's like, what exactly is this? What is the aesthetic exactly? And sometimes it's difficult to pin down.
I was just checking out the webpage for Inside Movies Galore and looking at the artwork for Badass Monster Killer and Monster from Bikini Beach. Darin, did you do that artwork? Is that you?
I did not.
Who's the artist on that? Because those are pretty. I really like those.
I'm not entirely sure what cover you're seeing. Are you seeing for Badass Monster Killer? Or are you seeing
Badass Monster Killer? Yeah, he's his afro like fills up the top. Yeah, it's like a cartoon. The two women, they have a gun and a sword. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a comic artist in our town named Paul Allen, who's he did some stuff for he and I did a Planet of the Vampire Woman comic book, not an adaptation but a different story set in the same world.
Excellent.
And he did the BMK poster for us, and he should be doing some grunk art for me coming up now anytime soon. But yeah, he's cool. The thing that's so great about his stuff is like he's a comic book artist, but it's not like superhero art. It's more like Mad Magazine art, which it fits our sense of humor. It fits our sense of humor so much better than if it would be, straight heroic art,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely liked the art on the Badass Monster Killer cover that I originally got from your company. So and I like the art on the new one that's out on Amazon too. So it's definitely unique.
Yeah, I obviously prefer what we did. That's why we did it that way.
The cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, but when we did the thing with the deal with Wild Eye releasing, that's how they wanted to do it. So okay, there you go.
Totally understand. Well, did anyone else have anything to ask Darin before we moved on?
I'll just reiterate that I'm really excited for Grunk the Smasher. I just think that's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm really looking forward to see what happens with that. Yeah.
You know what? What's funny is like from the very beginning when we started doing Bikini Beach and stuff like that, we would send it out and we'd get reviews, and we got some pretty good press. We got some good and some bad, but a lot of people said that it was fun. And I found that I really liked that. It was one of my favorite compliments. I'm like, that's a good thing to be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
most definitely. And I think that's what you kind of intend. You're supposed to enjoy a film, at least to a small minimal of expectations. No matter what, when you go into a film under the title that you have, or many other directors have, you're going to expect some stupidity at some point. So,
right.
You automatically have to start and be like, okay, is this the kind of movie that I really am going to enjoy, or am I going to just piss on it like the rest of the world?
Right. Definitely not everyone's bag. That's for sure.
So, in any case,
from the little I've heard about your movies, like I'm really looking forward to seeing them. So. They sound at the very least like explosively creative.
Oh God, I hope so. That's great. That would be great.
So,
hey, Darin, out of curiosity, is there anything that you've seen recently that you've like particularly liked? Any new releases in theaters that you might like to share?
Oh God, no, nothing new. But I've seen. What am I watching? I don't know. Last week I've been watching old Star Trek.
Which series?
I'm really all about the original.
You've got to check out Star Trek Continues.
For me.
Yeah, Next Generation. I've seen some of those. It's just not the same as the original stuff. I grew up with both of them. Yeah, one of the things I appreciate about the original Star Trek series is the writing's generally so clunky and heavy-handed, and I like that. I find that I like I glorify in tropes, and I like cardboard cutout characters. I like those. I like those archetypes, you know. And Star Trek, the original Star Trek's nothing if not that. I mean, the characters are,
And the
you know,
mystery lights. You gotta remember most of those buttons on the Star Trek track were definitely looked like they were like car parts or something.
Yeah.
It does absolutely fall along that same line that Darin was talking about before, where even though we know it's a cheaper effect, it's still done very well. It's put together well, it's designed well. So it doesn't look like they just gave up. It looks, very well constructed, and you can just tell what the intention was. So
it's done in earnest, it's done in earnest.
Absolutely.
It's not done with a sense of camp or whatever.
Have you watched any of Star Trek Continues?
No, I haven't.
It's online, and what it is it's Star Trek original Star Trek fans just like yourself have begun producing episodes that take up where the original series left off, and it's all done in the same style.
Right, right. I saw some pictures from that. I must have read about that at some point because I remember seeing some sets and some costumes from a fan film. I'm like, oh, this looks great. And what they're doing is they're doing the original series.
It looks absolutely beautiful. Check it out. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, there's a web series that has been going on for many years called Star Trek Hidden Frontier. Yeah. And I know that's specifically made up of Star Trek fans, and they do their own episodes, and some of them are really, really clunky, and just
that's beautiful.
You can tell it's independent, but you should definitely check out. I know they've got like 9 seasons out on the web or whatnot. So
they just put everything into it too. It's got to be done with so much love. I would love to see that.
And the last couple of years, they actually got relatively good.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is a fan from some aspect of that stuff.
Right.
In any case, moving on to tonight's film is John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982.
Dun, dun, dun.
So,
really quick, my favorite Star Trek movie is Galaxy Quest, and that's about as far as I go.
No, it's not Star Trek.
I just made a new best friend. Yes.
I've seen the clip where Picard says "Shut up, Wesley" and whaps him, but that's about it for Star Trek content for me.
Shut up, Wesley.
You should see the supercut. Shut up, Wesley. Shut up, Wesley. Shut up, Wesley. Wow.
I think my love of Star Trek would actually be inappropriate to share right here, but I love it a lot.
No, by all means. I mean,
no, go ahead.
It was happening.
No, I'll say the story for off air.
Explain now.
Oh, it turns out I also have a lot of Thing memorabilia too. So when it's my turn, I'll turn the camera on and show that stuff off.
Excellent.
Alrighty. So, when did you first see The Thing, Zach?
Oh gosh, I think I was actually in high school, but it was one of those moments where like I'm just flipping through channels, like looking through the TV guide, and I landed on. I was like, "Oh, Kurt Russell, right on. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'll just turn it on." I wasn't super big into John Carpenter at the time, so start watching The Thing, and it is majestically disgusting. And I fell in love with it, and I was just like, this movie is fantastic. So I would tell my friends about it, and
great.
Yeah, I told all my buddies, I was like, we gotta watch The Thing, it's a great movie, this happens. But very recently a new love has come into my life, the video game Dead Space, which has a ton of nods to The Thing.
It
And
does.
now here I am talking about it again. And so it's just kind of come in this nice circle in my life. So I think it was like early high school is when I first saw The Thing, something like that.
I beat that on like that super high difficulty that had the 150 some point achievement.
Oh
that
man,
was a terrifying experience.
Oh gosh, that movie is the game is absolutely terrifying, and it like encompasses the sort of rhythm that The Thing has, where you're more scared of the people you're with than the things you've been fighting. And when they do encounter, they hit you hard, fast, and loud, and it just totally throws you for a loop.
Well, try it where every attack is lethal,
Wow.
even with all your upgrades.
No, but and like I would say a few weeks ago, I sat down and watched John Carpenter's Vampires again too, and then you asked me, come on and talk about The Thing, and John Carpenter's just making his way back into my life, so that's really cool.
Woo!
Right on.
Yes, it's a great
Darin,
moment. It's a great moment for me. So.
When did you first see The Thing?
Probably in high school as well. I don't have a clear memory of that. Yeah, I don't know.
What were your thoughts about the film?
Oh, it's funny. What'd you say? Grossly, majestically gross? Grotesque?
Gross. Majestically gross.
Yeah, I think that, to follow up on that, I mean, one of the wonderful things about The Thing and the grossness and the effects and whatnot, you look back and it was really the peak of practical effects, practical gore effects. I think that the guys, Rob Bottin and the guys that were working then had really, and the werewolf movie the werewolf movies that had come out around the same time, all that stuff had really peaked at the time, and I think it's on display, and it's wonderful in The Thing. I mean, there's so many inventive creature things are going on, and they look so wonderful and gooey and gross.
Absolutely.
It's really alive.
It's a wonderful nod to the work that art departments can do for films, especially the surgery scene where he's cutting the thing open all the way down to the center. You got to turn to an art department and say something like, "I need you to design this alien from the very tip of the outside all the way to the middle, because we're going to cut it open and show it to everybody on film." So I would have loved to have been in that room as they were coming up with that concept. That would have been amazing. So.
I would have liked to have been in the room when they came up with the concept of the tentacles coming out like vines to grab onto.
Oh man,
I'd like to have been in the room when they were done shooting and part of the creature could mysteriously disappear.
Yeah,
the upside down walking head.
Right.
Yeah, that was
just casually making his way out. Just lovely stuff.
Yeah.
Like I want to meet the people that come up with these things.
Yeah, it's just awesome stuff.
So,
Celeste, when was your first encounter with The Thing?
I was in college. It was sometime when I was in college, and I was dating this guy, and it was one of his favorite movies. We didn't really share the same movie taste. So I was like, I'm really not into snow. I don't like thinking about being cold. I went to California to college to get away from snow. Not really my thing. So I resisted it forever. And finally, he's like, no, you have to watch this movie. So I watched it. And I had to eat my words because I loved it. And I was like, you're right. This is a good movie. It's actually really good. So,
okay. Dustin, when was your first time watching this?
Well, okay, I'm going to show off my stuff when I'm done with this real quick. But my first time seeing it was around 2012 when I started to really explore horror. Because I had heard of it, and I'd seen like clips here and there, but I'd never actually seen it. And the first time I saw it, I didn't necessarily like it that much because it felt like it dragged like really badly. But as my tastes evolved, as I explored the genre more, I came to really enjoy and appreciate like the creature itself. And so now it's kind of one of. I have my movie collection sort of set up by tiers, and it's in my top tier. I've seen it quite a few times.
I have to say, anytime someone says, show you my stuff with a webcam involved, I get concerned.
Show me what you got.
Well,
Show me the money.
Show me what you got.
Right, well, first of all, there's Shut Factory's really, really good release of it, which I think Arrow US did a release recently too, but, how could it have been better than that? And I sprung for the expensive edition, which came with an extra slipcover and poster, which I really like this art better.
That is crazy.
I don't know if you can maybe see the actual poster kind of over there under the flag.
Yeah.
It's pretty
see
tough.
Under the Assassin's Creed flag.
Yeah.
I am so happy somebody recognized that.
Oh yeah.
And so I go to a lot of like used film places, and I found this at I think Goodwill. It was like $2. I didn't have the time to play through it, so I just watched somebody long play it.
Beautiful.
So I've actually seen the game happen. Maybe the best thing I have is I ran into this at Half Price Books. It's a hardcover novelization by Alan Dean Foster, and it actually has. I'm assuming it was written off of like the original screenplay. Like it has a couple scenes that aren't in the movie, including what they described as what would have been like a way too elaborate effects shot, which we can kind of get into later. And then I have the actual thing, kind of.
Cool.
Wow, it's really hard to show this off without glare.
It's like the. It looks like
Very cool.
that one old guy in the gym locker room. He's just standing over there, like reading a book or something. It's gross.
I haven't been in that kind of locker room.
I hope. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happens in women's locker room.
That's
There
kind of
are
better.
usually no old guys.
Just female things.
So
I
basically,
really hope not.
I remember seeing the thing on a ripped cover from a Blockbuster years ago, and I did. And the funny thing is, it came out the same year that my sister was born. So I always refer to her as the Thing, but
Great.
I was
in any
playing
case-
Zombies Ate My Neighbors when my brother was born. I kind of associate him with that game too.
Nice. Excellent.
But
The Thing.
the thing about the thing that gets me, it's in a stark Arctic wasteland, pretty much, and it starts out, very barren, and then as you see the people come in, and the thing that I noticed while I was rewatching it just recently is how young Kurt Russell looks in the film.
That baby face.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Not exactly Disney, but
Even fully bearded, long hair, he still just had this very, cherub-like baby
Geico
face.
caveman
Yeah,
looking.
Geico caveman looking dude. Yeah.
Looks like my friends who play Magic in Madison.
Wow.
No,
But,
very
I think
Keith David.
I think I started getting when I first watched it. I know I definitely looked at animals a different way.
Right. That reminds me. If I could interject very quickly, I'd like to give a shout out at this point to two cast members, the unspoken heroes of the film. Larry Franco, who played the Norwegian passenger with rifle. That's how he's credited.
Is also the producer.
Is it really? I missed that.
Larry Franco's the producer, yeah.
And Jed, who played the dog Thing.
Oh, there you go.
Jed, I thought was fantastic. That's
Talking about the
my
husky.
favorite scene. Yeah, the husky that they put in the cage with the other dogs, and he's just sitting there like
And
a
he gets shot.
yeah.
Right.
I didn't like the part where he got shot. I thought that was sad. I don't like when anybody does, but like when he's in the cage and they're all just looking at each other, and that shepherd tone just runs through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. Absolutely.
Okay. But is that your favorite scene?
Yes. I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to take yes on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Celeste, what was your favorite scene of the film?
I'm not sure I had a favorite scene exactly. I had a favorite thing, which I loved the paranoia. And I loved how much they were all trying to figure out who was and wasn't the Thing. So I really liked the scene where they were, any scenes where they were discussing that or trying to work through that.
Okay.
Those stood out to me.
Yeah.
Darin, did you have a specific scene?
I would pick the blood test.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I would pick
I have to
that.
agree with that because
That's kind of a standout moment.
That was one of the big moments that caught me off guard, because I knew that they did a blood, because it had been so long since I'd seen it. I knew they did a blood test.
But you forgot which one. You forgot which one.
Yeah. So after they did it like 4 times, I was like, "Oh wait, did the blood test work or not?" I forget. Bam! And then it just pops out of the petri dish, and it legitimately scared me. I actually jumped in my seat. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's like the real deal jump scare, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That John Carpenter, he's gonna go places.
I have a quick question, Darin. What did you think about the prequel, without going into any more explanation about the?
Oh well, you know me. I always love Norwegians, so
all right
for it just because of that, But no, it's all right. It's all right. I mean, the problem, I think sometimes you get these CGI creatures, and they sometimes will leave them on screen too long. It's like, make that shot like quicker, and it'd be a little bit better. But that's just technical complaining. I think it's a wonderful monster movie. The twisting at the end, and like you said, the paranoia of who's the thing. I mean, it's all there. So
I actually agree with you, because I actually think that it kind of tied in with the film to come. So, but that's all that I'll actually say about the film before we actually talk about it. Episode.
a much more interesting concept than just doing a straight remake. It's like, hey, what happened to the Norwegians? It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. I kind of want to know that.
And I liked seeing its ship and everything at the end. I used to be in like science fiction book club, and one of the first books I had, this was when I was a kid, I barely remember any of it, was a bunch of illustrations of like books of like monsters from sci-fi books, and there was an illustration for the Thing, and it was kind of like half the dog and then half something completely indescribable and alien. And when the Thing morphs for the last time in its spaceship, and like all the tendrils come out of its head, it's like, oh, there it is. So I really enjoyed that about the movie, about the remake. Otherwise, I thought it fell, for the most part, totally flat on its face.
Yeah.
What does anyone think about the supposed tie-in with the Thing from Another World?
I mean, ostensibly it's a remake of that, I guess. Although the source material is a short story called "Who Goes There," and the Carpenter thing is much closer to the source material than the Thing from Another World is. The "Who Goes There," I mean, it implies like that paranoia. It implies like, who is the creature? The shape, thing, and and none of that element is in the 50s Thing, which I love too. But it's a whole different sort of a movie.
It was really interesting. I actually thought to myself, before starting watching it, like counting, I wanted to see like what the big difference was between the number of times the monster attacked and the number of times people attacked each other. And it just became extraordinarily apparent, like right in the middle of the film, that I realized, I was like, the monster has not attacked for like 15 minutes.
And people are fighting.
People are fighting amongst themselves. So the monster is treated more like this curse.
In that respect, it almost became almost something like 12 Angry Men.
Yeah, more psychological, like much more psychological.
Yeah, and the 50s Thing, I mean, they do a real great job of like the science guys fighting with the military guys, and there's a lot of conflict between the characters in there for sure.
From kind of my impression, I haven't seen Thing from Another World, but sort of my impression of it was like looking at the two, like John Carpenter's Thing versus Thing from Another World. You can just toss Thing from Another World like away, like it doesn't exist. That was how sharp the quality increased to the new Thing.
In the same respect, the Thing from Another World was the first adaptation of the.
Absolutely.
And it definitely, to me, holds up in its own realm of 1950s people. They had a different concept of thinking. around that time, and anything that was strange and abnormal, was quite a new concept to them. So
communism.
Well, there was a lot of conflict. I mean, many of the films started because of the atomic age. So Godzilla started because of basically Hiroshima. So
Right.
And the fear of the unknown.
Agreed.
But in any case, go ahead.
From that perspective, I think a more tactful way to say it was that Carpenter's version of the same story did everything so much better than the first attempt to adapt the story that you don't really need to consider the original adaptation. That's a more tactful way of explaining kind of what I meant.
Okay. So, but anyone else have anything?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go for it.
The first time I already did that. I couldn't remember.
Okay. I will mention one more scene, and again, it's going to be with the dog. To kind of touch on, again, give props to the crew and just designers and everybody. Was the what I'm calling the superstitious dog scene. I thought I noticed this particular sound design is as they were going from room to room to room, the music changed how loud it was, so you could tell like how far away from the music you actually were.
Oh,
so as this dog is moving through the space, the music changes, and it was really nice to kind of like follow his curiosity where his eyes were going, and with very little dialogue, like barely any dialogue in the first part of the film. It's all sound and movement, and it really forces you to focus. And that was by far one of my favorite sound design moments in film, next to the scene from Ghost with Patrick Swayze. So.
Now I remember what I was trying to say now. My favorite scene was just with the defibrillator when the chest opens up, because I did not expect that at all.
Another one I forgot about, like the blood test. Yeah, that one was, oh man. Scared me to death. That was great.
It didn't scare me. It just really, really surprised me. It's like, what?
It's like very violently remembering. You're like, oh yes, okay, that happens. All right.
It's like
wonderful.
Depending on the context, I kind of like mean-spirited tricks, and that seemed to take it like really far. It's like, yes.
Lovely. I don't know if you guys saw, but in the little group chat that we have, Darin, you said something earlier. You were like, "Well, I always liked Norwegians." Right. You said that. I posted a picture from a movie called A Good Old Fashioned Orgy, with Tyler Labine, and he's wearing a shirt that says "Life's too short not to be Norwegian." So not to be. I'm gonna try to track that one down. I'm gonna try to track that one down for you. See if I can get one to you.
Beautiful.
And that's what I was trying to show.
Got it.
Trying to do the screen share.
But
right,
yeah, a screen share. But in any case,
figure it out later.
Did anyone else have anything else to talk about this film?
No, about great movie though.
The Thing. Gosh. Okay, I got a wacky story.
I've got two.
We used to have these debates about who was an alien at the end, who was the Thing at the end. It's Kurt Russell and that's what they say. And recently I came across. Okay, so you're hip to what I'm talking about here, right?
Yeah, they made comic sequels.
One or the other were an alien, right? And it's like, okay, all these theories are like, well, look, when you watch Childs, you can't see the steam from his breath, so he must be an alien. They must have did that on purpose. It was a hint. And then I ran across a thing with Keith David, and he's like, no one ever said anything like that to any of the actors on set at the time. And if there was a difference between his breath showing and Kurt Russell's, his breath not showing, Kurt Russell's breath showing, he said it must have been just because he was closer to the fire.
Oh, okay.
There's another theory too that when they share the drink, but it's like gasoline in there, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he
that
takes
one's-
the
that
drink
one's-
and just like holds it in because
Right.
the thing wouldn't know that that's not something you're supposed to drink.
Right. That's all part. That's all part of this weird theory.
See, me, watching it most recently, I came to the conclusion it was my personal hope that they both were not infected.
Uh-huh.
But
That's
there's
where
no,
I leave it too.
But there's no possible way for them to know that for sure. So they just have to make the safest decision. It's the decision that like a scientist would make.
Yeah, it's funny is I've heard Carpenter talk several times, and I get the impression that he doesn't care whether one way or another. He's happy to have it just be ambiguous.
I think he has actually said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember running across that, but I also know that I saw him speak at Fangoria.
Yeah.
And someone asked a question from the audience. He said, "Hey, if there was a Thing sequel, what would you do?" And he said that there was a Dark Horse comic out based on the Thing, and he said he would do exactly that. And I don't have those. I don't have those comics. So I don't know what that story is. But
I have it. I have it in a one file. I have it in a 1 volume like CBR file, like a comic book file. It's like 300 pages, and it's several different stories. Do you guys want that? Because I can try and send it to you.
Oh yeah.
But
does that indicate whether or not Childs is the Thing, or if
Childs turns into the Thing and attacks him like pretty quickly?
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Well, then I've got Carpenter saying he would do exactly what they did in Dark Horse.
Did anyone realize the voice of the chess computer that was in there?
No.
Oh gosh.
The film was actually done by John Carpenter's then wife, Adrienne Barbeau.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
From Swamp Thing?
Okay. Yeah, she was in the Swamp Thing. She's in Creep Show. She's in all kinds of stuff.
I thought that was unique to read about before the show.
That's magnificent.
Huh.
I don't think he handled losing very well, though. That was,
also that Bill
like
Lancaster is the son of Burt Lancaster, and he was the guy who wrote the screenplay.
Oh, fantastic.
Speaking of the screenplay differences and whatnot, so in the novelization that I have, this thing, there's a scene where they try to escape the compound, and so it takes place out on the ice. I can't quite remember everything that happens because it's rather long and involved. Like one of the guys takes a snowmobile and they track him down, and he's killed by the Thing. Except it's become this gigantic serpentine monster under the ice, and it just pulls him under, and they kill it with the flamethrower. But it's this very elaborate, kind of incredible scene, really. And of course it's not in the movie. And
you believe that's why that's cut, was one of the things that was cut because of budget?
Exactly. I believe that was explicitly mentioned as, it was we couldn't figure out how to do it, basically, because the Shout Factory DVD came with an unbelievable amount of stuff, and somewhere in there I could have swore somebody mentioned that, but it was really cool. And actually the last boss in the video game, I think is pretty close to what I envisioned that particular creature looking like. It's just this towering thing from under the ice. And you kind of see a little bit of that sort of thing too at the end, where the Blair monster comes out and it's ripping up the floor.
Yeah.
Which that's actually what this figure is. There's another one, the Norris creature, and it comes with the eyeball stalk monster.
Cool.
I still need to get that. It goes for between 35 and 50 on eBay. And there's somebody that has a couple of them to sell locally, but they interpret that as $95, no breaks. So
we should start a Kickstarter to raise money so that we can do a complete George Lucas remastering and put in a lot of really bad CGI so that we can have that scene. I think that would be magnificent. I'd go for that.
Well, we already have the 2011 one. Do we really need more of that?
I liked it. The remake, I liked it.
It was all. I can't say it was a bad movie, but I can't really call it a good movie.
And I wouldn't exactly call it a remake either.
It's a prequel. No, it is a split-out prequel.
There's a story about that. The remake. Have you seen a film? It's called Harbinger Down.
Nope.
Okay,
I
that was
haven't watched it yet, but I can definitely. I definitely heard quite a lot about
what happened was the guys that did the practical effects on the Thing remake were disappointed that so much of their work was cut out and replaced with CGI that they wanted, and they put together enough money to make Harbinger down, and it was essentially the stuff that they had worked out for the Thing.
Oh wow, okay.
It's really cool. It's very similar. They're trapped on a boat in the middle of the ice, but the script, you're watching it and you're going like, God, this is just like the Thing. This is just like the Thing. And you're like, oh, of course it is. You know.
Well, it is the Thing.
So anyway, that's kind of interesting, and I didn't like the pacing all that much, but it's just kind of an interesting story.
The thing where it couldn't copy like inorganic material, and they were finding like people's fillings, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
I like that too. And she had an earring at the end or something. Didn't that happen?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that I desperately want to get resolved. So this is for my friend Andrew, who I know listens sometimes. You better visit in October, by the way. So who would win, the Thing or the Blob? Like, if they came into contact with each other, would the Thing copy the Blob before the Blob could dissipate the Thing?
Okay, I'm gonna start because this is how I would break it down. I think the Thing would win because I think the Thing would be strong enough to survive long enough to assimilate some of the particles of the Blob, and then from there it would just be unstoppable. I think it would do all right. I think the Thing. I'm gonna go with the Thing.
I think they'd end up having babies.
Don't be gross, Celeste.
That's how you get monster babies.
Real mature.
That would be an interesting film.
Right, the Blob Thing.
The Blob Thing.
I think on some level it would vary depending on like which version of the Blob you had. Like 1950s alien Blob versus 1980s super microorganism Blob. I personally think super microorganism Blob loses to the Thing, but I think 50s Blob actually beats the Thing because it would dissolve the cells as they're coming into contact with it, so it wouldn't have time, right?
But the thing is, even if one particle of the Blob assimilates, then that means the Thing can replicate it perfectly and essentially do what it's trying to do. It would still take over. It would still take. I'm definitely going with the 1950s Thing, and I still think a 1950s Blob, and I still think the Thing would win.
Nice. I think so too, because the Thing is an ever-changing, evolutionizing, creature, and ultimately.
Also, I can have. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
Andrew also. We saw the Thing at around the same time together, and he found this extremely long, like, fanfic. It was basically the movie from the Thing's perspective, and they tried to like give it they kind of try to give it like a motivation, I guess.
I've heard about that. I think I've heard
about long, that. But it's very, very long, but it's pretty good. So essentially, the Thing comes from a world where all life is multicellular. Okay, not quite.
Hello?
On the Thing's world, can connect with each other. Like everything on the planet is like the Thing. Like all the cells are individual conscious beings, and they like move together. And the Thing is just amazed that the humans are individual entities despite being made up of cells. Like that really freaks the creature out. It's like, you can't just split up. Oh my god.
Are they trying to make like the bad guy a little bit of a good guy in some way? Like, have you empathize with him? Is it kind of like Maleficent?
Oh no, the Thing is still pretty malevolent. It's just kind of, it has a very different perspective from
evil but deep.
I don't know necessarily evil, more it's like, I'll show this planet, the way things should be. By making them into life forms like me.
Freaking fascist.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Fascist thing.
All right. So, did anyone else have anything else to add?
Celeste, should we talk about the fact or about our film thing that we want to do?
We're doing films?
We want to.
We're Celeste and I are collaborating to try and shoot a like a slasher short film. We're gonna do like a series of just little short story, like little vignettes of slasher movies, and try to have that come out. So yeah, starring yours truly, Celeste.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a
So.
chainsaw, kind of.
Nice.
That's one of the best scares at a haunted house. To even now, is just a chainsaw with the chain removed on it.
Yeah.
You have some guy who's just got that thing, perfectly built. You take one pull on it and it starts up. You just gently rub the bare metal on the back of like someone's leg, so there's no chain whatsoever. I've never seen people jump and run so fast in my life. It's the best scare. It's the best time.
Moment, please.
Yeah.
So,
Oh no! Is he getting his chainsaw?
oh
Oh no!
Of course. Of course.
We're all doomed. We're all doomed.
And all of a sudden, we hear screaming and blood curdles.
And that's how Regina George died.
No.
Oh man, it's not. Oh God!
Alrighty. So,
Jeez! Oh my God!
God, I love this thing.
Oh no! Oh man!
alrighty. Well, I'm going to wrap this up here.
Alrighty.
Before we all get murdered.
Why don't, yeah.
I like you. I wouldn't murder you.
That's,
Who are you, anyway?
That's what Anthony Perkins said to his mother.
It is. Well, if you read the book, he totally killed her himself. Did you read the book?
You know Robert Bloch's book.
Yeah.
You don't get knighted by murdering people.
Alrighty. Darin, why don't you tell us just at the end here? We kind of tell a little bit about what some of us do, so that the audience kind of knows what we do in film or whatnot. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you?
Stuff like well, I'm a writer director out in Sacramento, California, with a film production company. We're just starting on our fourth feature film, Grunt the Smasher, like that kind of thing. Is that what you want?
Yeah. And what the name of your company is, and what if there's anything else that you'd like to say.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're TFO Productions. We're located out of Sacramento, California. The films are Monster from Bikini Beach, Planet of the Vampire Women, Badass Monster Killer, and upcoming is Grunt the Smasher. And I think the Badass Monster Killer is on Amazon Prime right now, so you can look that up there.
Okay.
Really?
Alrighty. And Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? Where?
Absolutely. Zach McClain. I'm based out of Milwaukee. I'm an actor, filmmaker, writer, and photographer, among many other things. I do a little design as well. And recently I've been part of the launch of a company called Duck in Munich Creative. That also is that's a collaboration with Nate Haben from Haben Media Works. A lot of people in Milwaukee probably. Yeah, absolutely. I love working with Nate. He's fantastic.
Just a lot of editing, doesn't he?
He does editing. He's a cinematographer. He does gear rental. He's a great collaborator if you're writing on something new.
Yeah,
and he's also
he worked with Melanie on a filmmaker who worked on a short film called Two Rivers. I think.
Oh yeah.
That film.
We're working on a series based off of that. Actually, I've been working with Nate on that. He worked with Chris Emmons on The Survivor. He was DP and cinematographer for that film, and He, myself, and then our third collaborator for Duck in Munich, Tawny Thompson, who's the fight choreographer and just a really brilliant actress and just kind of leader in general. She does fight choreography for Dueling Arts International. She's certified in weapons, hand-to-hand combat, knives, all that kind of fun stuff. So if Grunk the Smasher needs a fight captain,
I was just gonna say that I got some sword fights.
Absolutely, she can help you with it, and a really good friend of mine. She's actually going to be the best woman at my wedding. So
excellent.
Hooray.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So yeah, a little bit of a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah.
Alrighty, Celeste, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
I'm Celeste. I am the co-host on the horror host show Dead Girls Dark Coffin Classics that is based out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. If you would like to look up our stuff, we have most of our latest shows online at vimeo.com/ddcc, or you can Google Dead Girls Dark Coffin Classics. You can look us up on Facebook. We have a website where we have some older shows on YouTube. We kind of moved away from YouTube a little. And I am also the host for the Glamour Junkies Burlesque Troupe out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Awesome. Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I live in Milwaukee. I go to UWM, and I collect movies and other things, as you've seen. I kind of have a problem.
Like chainsaws, right?
Yeah.
Now what you need is the Black Maria, right?
Hey,
Absolutely.
that thing is so damn popular at parties. Like, you wouldn't believe it.
Excellent.
I need to get a real Jason mask, though. Instead of a really shitty one. It's kind of great. Like, last year, my costume was Stanley Decker, the Chainsaw Maniac from Zombies Ate My Neighbors. He's dressed like Jason, except like with the hockey mask, and he's got like a black muscle shirt and a chainsaw. He's just like a mashup of like a bunch of different characters. Also, probably the most annoying enemy in the game. And I think maybe one person actually got the reference, but yeah. Anyway, so I just like talking about movies and can't really be stopped. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Here too. My name is David Strege.
Oh,
I run.
I'm so sorry, David. Don't mean to interrupt you. Celeste, the Glamour Junkies, they have a show this Saturday, don't they?
We do. We have a show on this Saturday at Quarters in Milwaukee.
Check it out.
10. Yes, thank you.
Where's that?
Sorry, I wanted a shameless plug.
It's in River West.
Okay,
Awesome.
I have. I got invited to some politician's birthday party. I think that's Saturday.
This will be
Tattoo
more
party.
fun.
Boo! Not cool.
I'm not disqualified. You're disqualified.
Sorry, David.
Well,
thanks.
my name. Go ahead. No problem. My name is David Strege. I run Movies Galore Milwaukee. Also write same blog. And I now host this, which is Inside Movies Galore. I'm also a somewhat small-time producer, and as I've said last couple of episodes, I am the producers of Brad Twig's newest feature coming out in 2018, Wrestle Massacre. Definitely look out for that. That definitely supposed to be really cool with the Cuban and starring in it, I believe. So
Very cool.
Cuban assassin.
definitely look out for that later on next year. So tune in next week for another discussion. We're going to be doing The Exorcist. So
Nice.
Dustin's favorite film.
Excellent.
Excellent, man. That's going to be fun.
Well, this will be my 4th time seeing it, and I'm assuming it'll be the 4th time I've fallen asleep in the middle of it.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's
In
what
any case, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. Darin, thank you for coming on the show. Hopefully you had fun. And hopefully maybe sometime in the future you can come back again.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is really fun. Have me back when we're like in the middle of Grunk, like 6 months from now or something.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. And we'll see if there's like a movie that you'd like to talk about that we haven't talked about. So
Excellent.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night, everyone.
I guess.
Alrighty.
It's coming for you in the night.